The emergency beacon pulsed weakly through the darkness of space, a faint cry for help that most would ignore in these lawless sectors. But Dr. Rhea Santos had never been one to turn away from those in need, even if it meant risking her own safety. Her small medical transport, the Nightingale, drifted closer to the source, a deteriorating research station that hung like a broken ornament against the backdrop of stars. Warning: life support systems critical. Atmospheric pressure unstable, her ship's AI announced as she prepared for docking. Noted, Aria. Keep the engines warm, Rhea replied, checking her environmental suit's seals one final time. The station's layout matched no known configuration in her database, its architecture a strange blend of utilitarian human design and the flowing aesthetics favored by the Vexari Empire. The airlock cycled with a wheeze, revealing corridors draped in emergency lighting. Rhea moved cautiously, her helmet sensors tracking the thin atmosphere and declining temperature. The beacon's signal grew stronger as she descended deeper into the station's core, past laboratories filled with shattered equipment and personal quarters stripped bare. In what appeared to be a medical bay, she found her patient. The Vexari woman lay unconscious on an examination table, her iridescent scales dulled by illness and malnutrition. Sophisticated cybernetic augmentations lined her spine and limbs, but they appeared to be malfunctioning, occasional sparks dancing across their surface. Rhea's scanner revealed the truth: this was no ordinary refugee. The neural implants and genetic markers identified her as Thea Vexera, daughter of the Vexari Emperor himself. The same emperor whose forces had decimated 3 human colonies in the past year alone. Well, this complicates things, Rhea muttered, already moving to stabilize her patient. Politics meant little when someone's life hung in the balance. Her hands moved swiftly, administering emergency treatments while her mind raced through the implications. The Vexari were known for their obsession with perfection, often discarding or retiring those they deemed flawed. The malfunctioning augmentations and hidden location suggested this was no accident. Someone had wanted Thea to disappear. As Rhea worked to transfer Thea to a portable stasis unit, the woman's eyes fluttered open. They were in startling amber, filled with both fear and defiance. "Are you here to finish it?" Thea whispered, her translator struggling to convert the words. "I'm here to help," Rhea replied firmly. "I'm Dr. Santos, and I'm getting you out of here." "They'll kill you for interfering," Thea warned, but her hand gripped Rhea's desperately. "My father, he ordered this. Said I was an embarrassment that needed to be erased." "Well, your father's not here," Rhea said, activating the stasis unit's anti-grav function. "And I've never been good at following orders from tyrants." The station's emergency lights suddenly shifted to red, and Aria's voice crackled through Rhea's comm, multiple vessels approaching. Signatures match Vexari military patterns. "Of course," Rhea muttered, securing Thea's stasis unit. "Hold tight, Your Highness. This is going to get interesting." They made it halfway to the airlock before the first explosion rocked the station. Rhea's augmented reflexes, remnants of her own military service, were the only thing that kept them from being thrown into a wall. The Vexari ships were firing on the station, attempting to destroy the evidence of their crime. "Aria, prep for emergency departure," Rhea ordered, pushing the stasis unit ahead of her as they raced through deteriorating corridors. "And get me a trajectory that puts as much debris between us and those ships as possible." The Nightingale's airlock had barely closed behind them when the station began to break apart. Rhea threw herself into the pilot's seat, her fingers dancing across controls as she released the docking clamps. The ship spun away from the disintegrating structure, its superior maneuverability allowing them to weave through the expanding field of debris. "They're pursuing," Aria reported calmly. "Let them try," Rhea replied, a grim smile crossing her face. She hadn't survived 15 years as a combat medic by being easy to catch. The Nightingale disappeared into the chaos of the debris field, its advanced stealth systems making it nearly impossible to track. Hours later, in the relative safety of deep space, Rhea checked on her patient. Thea had stabilized, but the damage to her augmentations would require extensive repairs. More concerning were the signs of long-term abuse and neglect, evidence of a society that valued appearance over compassion. "I don't know if you can hear me," Rhea said softly, adjusting Thea's medication, "but I promise you this, you're not going back to them. Whatever it takes, I'll help you find a new path." The stars streamed past the viewports as the nightingale carried them toward an uncertain future. Rhea knew she had just made herself an enemy of the most powerful empire in the sector, but looking at her patient's peaceful face, she couldn't bring herself to regret it. Sometimes the right choice was also the hardest one. "Arya, set course for the Meridian Sanctuary," she ordered. "And start compiling everything we know about Vexery cybernetics. Something tells me we're going to need it." The Meridian Sanctuary floated in the heart of an electromagnetic nebula, its gleaming spires hidden from prying eyes by perpetual storms. As the nightingale approached the hidden medical haven, Rhea monitored Thea's vital signs with growing concern. The Vexery princess's cybernetics were deteriorating faster than expected, their malfunction threatening to damage her nervous system. "Identity confirmed, Dr. Santos," came the calm voice of the sanctuary's AI. "However, we detect a high-profile patient. This could bring unwanted attention." "I know the risks," Rhea replied, guiding her ship toward the designated landing pad. "But she needs help only the sanctuary can provide." The facility's chief surgeon, Dr. Kai Patel, was waiting when they landed. His weathered face creased with worry as he examined Thea's readings. "These augmentations, they're purposely designed to fail. Someone wanted her death to look natural." "Her own father," Rhea explained grimly. "Can you help her?" Kai ran a hand through his silver hair. "Yes, but it won't be easy. We'll need to replace most of her cybernetics. And there's something else." He pointed to an anomaly in the scan. "She's carrying genetic modifications. Experimental ones." Rhea felt her anger rising. They were using her as a test subject. "The Vexery's pursuit of perfection knows no bounds," Kai agreed. "Even their own children are just tools for advancement." Over the next few weeks, Rhea rarely left Thea's side. She assisted in the complex surgeries, using her combat medicine experience to help stabilize the princess during the most critical procedures. Between operations, she researched Vexery politics, trying to understand what had led to this betrayal. It was during one of these quiet moments that Thea finally regained full consciousness. Her amber eyes focused on Rhea with surprising clarity. "You're still here," she said softly. "Of course," Rhea replied, setting aside her datapad. "How are you feeling?" "Different." Thea flexed her hands, examining the new cybernetics. Gone were the ornate but flawed implants of the Vexery, replaced with sleek, efficient human technology. "These don't hurt." "They were never supposed to hurt," Rhea said gently. "Your old augmentations were designed to cause pain, to remind you of your supposed imperfections." Thea was quiet for a long moment. "I always thought. I believed I deserved it. That if I could just be better, try harder, Father would." Her voice broke. Rhea took her hand, surprised by how natural the gesture felt. "No one deserves what was done to you. No one. Why do you care?" Thea asked, her grip tightening. "Our empires are at war. I'm your enemy." "I don't see an enemy," Rhea replied. "I see someone who needed help. The rest is just politics." Their conversation was interrupted by a priority alert from Arya. Multiple Vexery warships detected entering the nebula. "They're using experimental sensors to navigate the storms." Rhea cursed under her breath. "They're tracking your genetic signature," she told Thea. "We need to move." "I'll slow you down," Thea protested as Rhea began disconnecting monitoring equipment. "Leave me." Save yourself. Not happening, Rhea said firmly. I didn't pull you out of that station just to abandon you now. Can you walk? Thea stood shakily, her new cybernetics responding smoothly. Yes, but I don't understand. Why risk everything for me? Because everyone deserves a chance to write their own story, Rhea said, supporting her as they moved toward the ship. Even runaway princesses. The sanctuary's corridors were chaos as other patients and staff evacuated. Dr. Patel met them at the Nightingale's airlock, pressing a data crystal into Rhea's hand. Everything we learned about her condition, plus coordinates to some people who can help. Now go. They launched just as the first Vexery ships emerged from the storm. The Nightingale's engines screamed as Rhea pushed them to full power, diving deeper into the nebula instead of trying to escape it. That's suicide, Thea gasped, clutching her seat as energy discharges rocked the ship. Maybe, Rhea agreed, her focus absolute as she navigated the electromagnetic chaos. But they can't track what they can't follow. Arya, initiate Protocol Ghost Wind. The ship's systems reconfigured, allowing them to ride the nebula's natural energy currents. It was a technique Rhea had developed during the war, one that had saved her life more than once. The pursuing Vexery ships, built for power rather than subtlety, couldn't match their maneuverability. Hours later, safely hidden in the nebula's depths, Rhea found Thea in the medical bay, examining her reflection. The princess touched her face, tracing the places where her scales had begun to regain their natural luster. You chose this life, didn't you? Thea asked without turning. Helping people, even when it's dangerous. Someone has to, Rhea replied, leaning against the doorframe. The universe is hard enough without us turning our backs on each other. Thea finally faced her, determination replacing the fear in her eyes. Teach me. I want to learn to help others too. To show there's a different way than my father's cruelty. Rhea smiled, seeing not a broken princess but a survivor ready to forge her own path. First lesson, healing others often means learning to heal yourself. In the viewport behind them, the nebula's storms raged on, but its chaos felt less threatening now. They had found something stronger than fear, more powerful than empire, the simple truth that compassion could bridge any divide, heal any wound, if only given the chance. The mining colony of New Haven lived up to its name, a sanctuary carved into an asteroid's heart. Rhea watched as Thea worked with steady hands, repairing a miner's damaged prosthetic limb. 3 months of training had transformed the princess from a victim into a healer. There, Thea said, closing the final panel. How does it feel now? The miner flexed his mechanical fingers, grinning. Better than new, document. You've got a gift. Rhea smiled, pride warming her chest. Thea had thrown herself into learning medicine with the same determination that had helped her survive her father's cruelty. But their peace was about to shatter. Arya's warning came just as the colony's sirens began to wail. Multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace. Vexery signatures confirmed. They found us, Thea whispered, her scales shifting to a pale blue of fear. Not just them, Rhea said, checking the tactical display. That's the Imperial flagship. Your father's here himself. The colony's defenses were impressive but wouldn't hold against a full Imperial fleet. As evacuation orders echoed through the corridors, Rhea and Thea raced to gather critical medical supplies and patient data. You should leave me, Thea said, her voice steady despite her trembling hands. I can surrender, buy time for the others to escape. Rhea grabbed her shoulders. That's not happening. You're not his property to reclaim. No, a new voice agreed. She belongs to all of us now. The colony's miners filled the medical bay, armed with mining tools and determination. Their leader, a scarred woman named Jun Wei, stepped forward. Your Highness has healed our people, saved our children. We stand with you. Tears shimmered in Thea's eyes. You don't understand what he's capable of. We understand loyalty, June replied. Real loyalty, earned through compassion, not fear. The colony transformed into a fortress. Miners used their knowledge of the asteroid's tunnels to set traps and establish kill zones. Rhea coordinated with the defensive teams, her combat experience proving invaluable. Emperor Vexthor's ultimatum came as expected: surrender the princess or face annihilation. His holographic image towered over the colony's central plaza, scales gleaming with artificial perfection. My daughter, he said, voice dripping false concern. Look what these humans have done to you. Come home, and all will be forgiven. Thea stepped forward, her new cybernetics humming with power. I am home, father. These, imperfect, humans have shown me more love than you ever did. Love? He spat. Love is weakness. I tried to make you strong, to purge your defects. My only defect was believing I needed your approval, Thea interrupted. These people have taught me that true strength comes from helping others, not crushing them. The first wave of Imperial troops breached the outer defenses, but the miners were ready. Years of working in dangerous conditions had made them formidable fighters. Their modified mining equipment proved surprisingly effective against Vexori armor. Rhea and Thea worked tirelessly in the makeshift field hospital, treating wounded from both sides. Even as they fought for survival, they refused to abandon their principles. Why do you help them? A captured Vexori soldier asked as Thea treated his injuries. They're trying to kill you. Because that's what healers do, she replied simply. We help everyone, even our enemies. The battle raged for hours, but the tide turned when June's teams collapsed key tunnels, trapping the main Imperial force. The Emperor's fury was devastating to behold. You would choose these primitives over your own blood, he roared. I choose life over perfection, Thea declared. I choose healing over hatred. And I'm not alone. As if to prove her point, more ships appeared in the system, human medical vessels, refugee transports, and independent traders. Word of the colony's stand had spread, drawing allies from across the sector. Last chance, father, Thea said. Leave us in peace, or show everyone that the great emperor would murder his own daughter for daring to be different. The silence stretched for an eternity before the emperor's hologram flickered. You are no daughter of mine, he said finally, but his retreat orders were already being transmitted. In the aftermath, as they treated the wounded and rebuilt their sanctuary, Rhea found Thea in their small medical office, staring at her reflection. Having regrets? Rhea asked softly. No, Thea replied, turning to face her friend and mentor. For the first time, I'm seeing myself clearly. Not as a failed princess, but as someone who can make a difference. You already have, Rhea said, gesturing to the waiting room full of grateful patients. Every life you touch, every person you help, it's a victory over everything he stood for. We're not safe, Thea cautioned. He'll try again. Probably, Rhea agreed. But next time, he'll face all of us. Together. Outside, New Haven buzzed with activity as more ships arrived, bringing supplies and volunteers. The mining colony was becoming something more, a symbol of resistance against tyranny, a beacon of hope for those seeking acceptance. And at its heart, a former princess and a combat medic continued their work, proving that the strongest bonds are forged not in the pursuit of perfection, but in the choice to be kind in an unkind universe. The underground resistance grew stronger with each passing day. New Haven became a beacon for others fleeing the Empire's oppression, escaped test subjects, defective nobles, and anyone seeking a life free from the tyranny of perfection. Rhea watched as Thea transformed their medical bay into a sophisticated cyber rehabilitation center, helping patients reclaim bodies that had been altered against their will. The neural pathways are responding, Thea explained to her latest patient, a young Vexori whose wings had been forcibly augmented. Your body remembers how to fly naturally. The implants only made you doubt yourself. Rhea observed from the doorway, remembering the broken princess she'd rescued months ago. Now Thea stood tall, her own cybernetics a testament to healing rather than control. But their success had not gone unnoticed. Priority transmission from our deep cover operative, Arya announced. The Emperor has commissioned something called Project Eclipse. They're building something in the Shadowreach sector. The intelligence briefing painted a chilling picture. Emperor Vexthor had become obsessed with proving his superiority after Thea's defiance. Project Eclipse wasn't just a weapon, it was a transformation protocol designed to forcibly perfect entire populations. He's going to start with border colonies, Thea said, studying the plans. Small enough that no one will notice at first, but once he proves it works. Her scales rippled with horror. We need allies, Rhea decided. Real ones, with ships and weapons. The mining equipment won't be enough this time. Junwei, who had become their head of security, nodded grimly. I have contacts in the human resistance. They've been waiting for a reason to move against the Empire. It won't be enough, Thea said quietly. We need someone inside the Empire itself. Someone who can reach the others like me, the ones who pretend to embrace perfection because they're afraid to do otherwise. Rhea recognized the look in her friend's eyes. You want to go back? Not to surrender, Thea clarified. To broadcast the truth. Every noble house has children they've hidden away, family members who didn't meet the standard. If they see me, see us, they'll know there's another way. The plan took shape over sleepless nights. While June rallied the human resistance, Thea would infiltrate the Empire's annual Ascension Gala, a celebration of genetic and cybernetic advancement that drew the most powerful houses. The security will be impossible to breach, June warned. No, Thea smiled. It will be expecting the wrong thing. They're looking for warriors, not healers. Using the medical credentials they'd built at New Haven, Thea secured an invitation as a cybernetic specialist. Rhea would accompany her as her assistant, their history in the resistance hidden behind carefully crafted identities. The imperial capital was a monument to artificial perfection, every surface gleaming with unnatural precision. Rhea felt her combat instincts screaming as they passed through security, but their cover held. Welcome, Dr. Vexera, the protocol droid said, not recognizing the modified princess before it. Your presentation on neural integration is highly anticipated. The ballroom was filled with the Empire's elite, their enhanced bodies showcasing the latest in genetic and cybernetic modifications. Rhea noticed how many moved with subtle discomfort, their improvements clearly chosen for appearance rather than function. Thea took the stage with quiet confidence, her medical presentation a Trojan horse for the truth. As she demonstrated her healing techniques, she began weaving in her story, not as a bitter accusation, but as an offering of hope. We were taught that perfection requires sacrifice, she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the room. That pain is the price of advancement. But what if we were wrong? The crowd stirred as images from New Haven played behind her, patients learning to trust their bodies again, children playing without fear of punishment for their differences, communities built on acceptance rather than competition. I was discarded for being flawed, Thea continued, her gaze finding her father's empty throne. But in exile, I found something more valuable than perfection. I found purpose. Security forces began moving through the crowd, but they were too late. Across the Empire, Thea's words were being broadcast on every frequency, reaching into the hidden places where the imperfect watched and waited. You are not broken, Thea declared, her scales blazing with natural beauty. You are not failed experiments or discarded prototypes. You are people, worthy of choice, worthy of compassion, worthy of love. The first revolt began in the palace itself, a guard's genetic enhancements deactivating as she chose to stand with them. Then another, and another, as the carefully maintained facade of imperial perfection cracked. "This is treason," a noble shouted, but his own son stepped away from him, removing the restrictive cybernetics that had kept him compliant. As chaos erupted, Rhea moved to protect Thea, but her friend stood unafraid. "No more running," Thea said. "No more hiding. It's time to show them what real strength looks like." The revolution had begun, not with weapons, but with truth. And as their allies emerged from hyperspace, human resistance ships alongside defecting Imperial vessels, Rhea and Thea stood together, ready to fight not just for survival, but for the right of every being to choose their own path to healing. Project Eclipse loomed over the Imperial capital like a dark star, its massive form bristling with transformation arrays capable of rewriting the genetic code of entire populations. Emperor Vexthor had retreated to his ultimate weapon, surrounded by those nobles still loyal to his vision of enforced perfection. "Final preparations complete," announced the facility's AI. "Transformation protocols at full power. Targeting systems online." The Emperor stood at the command center, his own form twisted by excessive augmentation. "If they reject perfection, they will be remade. Starting with the traitors at New Haven." But the resistance had already infiltrated deep into Project Eclipse. Hundreds of maintenance workers and technical staff, inspired by Thea's broadcast, had sabotaged key systems. The weapons targeting computers showed optimal functionality while actually being subtly corrupted. Rhea led the first strike team through the station's medical sector, her combat experience complemented by Thea's intimate knowledge of Imperial security systems. They moved like shadows, disabling rather than killing, proving with every merciful act that their way was stronger. Engineering reports multiple system failures, the station AI reported. Unknown source. Backup protocols failing. The Emperor's rage was terrible to behold. "Find them. Find my worthless daughter and her human pet. I will show them true perfection." They found him in the central chamber, surrounded by machines that pulsed with ominous power. His own children, those who had stayed loyal, stood with him as living weapons, their bodies transformed almost beyond recognition. "Look at your siblings," he told Thea. "See how they embrace transcendence while you wallow in weakness." Thea stepped forward, her medical scanners revealing the truth. "I see their pain, Father. Their bodies are rejecting the forced evolution. You're killing them. A necessary sacrifice for—" "No more sacrifices," Thea interrupted. She reached out to her siblings. "You don't have to endure this. We can help you, heal you. Choose freedom." The chamber erupted in chaos as the Emperor's children began turning away from him, their enhanced bodies shuddering as suppressed emotions broke through years of conditioning. Rhea moved to protect them, her medical training already assessing the extent of their modifications. "You dare," the Emperor roared, his own augmentations surging with power. "I will remake this entire sector in my image." He lunged for the master control panel, but Thea was faster. Years of learning to trust her rebuilt body, of understanding that true strength came from acceptance rather than force, had made her more formidable than any of his enhanced warriors. "Your time is over, Father," she said, her voice firm but not unkind. "Let us help you too." "Help? Help?" He laughed madly. "I am perfection incarnate. I need no help from failed experiments." The station shuddered as June's forces engaged the Loyalist fleet outside. Through the chamber's viewport, they could see Imperial ships turning against each other as more crews chose freedom over forced evolution. The Emperor made his final move, attempting to trigger Project Eclipse's primary array. But the sabotage had done its work. Instead of transforming others, the energy backlashed through his own augmentations. Thea caught him as he fell, his enhanced form crumbling. Even now, her healer's instincts prevailed. "Stay with me, Father. We can still save you." His eyes, finally clear of madness, met hers. "You already have," he whispered, before slipping into unconsciousness. The aftermath brought changes no one had expected. The Vexery Empire transformed not through force but through choice. Healing centers replaced enhancement facilities. The pursuit of perfection gave way to the celebration of diversity. Months later, Rhea found Thea in their expanded medical bay at New Haven. The former princess was teaching a group of medical students, human, Vexery, and others who had found shelter in their growing community. "The body knows how to heal," Thea was saying. "Our job is not to force it into some artificial ideal, but to support its natural strength." Rhea smiled, remembering the broken woman she'd found in that abandoned station. Now Thea stood as a beacon of hope, proof that the greatest transformations came not from external force but from the courage to embrace one's true self. The Emperor, stripped of his enhancements, was recovering slowly under his daughter's care. Each day brought small victories as he learned to accept himself without the crutch of artificial perfection. "You were right," he told Thea during one of their sessions. "Strength isn't in domination. It's in the choice to heal, to help, to grow." As their sanctuary continued to grow, Rhea and Thea stood together, watching ships arrive from across the galaxy, each carrying souls seeking not perfection, but acceptance. Their revolution had succeeded not through superior force or technology, but through the simple, powerful truth that every being deserved the chance to write their own story. "We did it," Rhea said softly. Thea took her hand, her scales shimmering with natural beauty. "No, my friend. We're just beginning."